Let's just talk briefly about their piece first, because it helps us understand the pattern. They have traits, things like I talked about, the entitlement, the lack of empathy, the grandiosity, the arrogance, the selfishness. I want you to think of a narcissistic person as a volcano. And that volcano has got this bubbling lava. And the lava for the narcissistic person is shame and insecurity. So they want to be able to plug the top of that volcano, right? And that plug is all this stuff, the entitlement, the grandiosity, I'm perfect, I'm great. It's this, so it keeps all that stuff under wraps. That's not a conscious process, right? So, but every so often in life, something's gonna push that lid off to the side, which might be feedback, a criticism, somebody ends a relationship with them, whatever it is, something, their day doesn't go the way they want. They get stuck in traffic and they're late to something. They don't get the table they want in a restaurant. Whatever it may be, that nudges that manhole cover over and the lava starts spilling out. And that lava is their rage and their anger because their shame has been shown. All of this is unconscious. So all these patterns in the relationship, the way they show up in the narcissistic person is manipulation, invalidation of the other person, minimization of what another person is going through, gaslighting, rage and reactivity, future faking, which means promises are made and broken just to keep a person sort of on the hook. There will be blame shifting. They won't take responsibility. They'll always blame the other person, which is why people in these relationships always tend to blame themselves. There's a lot of deceit, betrayal, lying, infidelity. There is neglect. Over time, they just give less and less and less to the relationship. And the person in the relationship is trying to make do on the tiniest bits of being noticed. That's how they show up in the relationship. Everything in the relationship is about them getting supply and validation. They have absolutely no interest in the needs, wants, and honestly, the subjective reality of the other person in the relationship. Over time, the other person gets almost as considered an inconvenience. If you want something, you're an inconvenience. Much like this cup. Cup's convenient when I want to drink from it, but if the cup all of a sudden said, hey, can you take me to CVS on the way home? Like, what, cup? You're a cup. Don't tell me that. So they view us in that sort of objectified lens. All of these dynamics mean that over time, in order for the relationship to work, the other person has to entirely sacrifice themselves and buy into the reality system of the narcissistic person. But that doesn't all happen overnight. Oftentimes, at least in an adult narcissistic relationship, whether it's an intimate relationship or friendship, that early phase is very idealized and seductive. It's called love bombing, but it's really this phase where they're winning, not only winning you over with gestures and tactics, but with attunement and attention, or seeming attunement and attention. They pay intense attention to you. But what you realize afterwards is some of that intense attention was them learning things about you that were going to be turned around and used against you down the road. That's often a point of devastation for a person who says, I was vulnerable with this person. I told them things that I'd never told anyone before. And then 6 months in, I was being shamed and humiliated and it was being used to sort of destabilize me. Mm-hmm. There was a point where that love bombing phase then starts heading into a place where there's 10 good things, one bad thing. Oh, one bad thing. Everyone has a bad day. 9 good things, one bad thing. Over time, though, that ratio pretty much comes to like maybe 1 to 1. So now you're having as much difficult, challenging stuff, and then these little sprinklings of good things happening. That's the origin of the trauma bond. That back and forth, good, bad, hot, cold, I'm here, I'm not here, is where people will often find themselves falling into a cycle of justifying, blaming themselves, because it was so great. It was great for 2 or 3 months. So how did it not become great? Maybe I'm doing something. So the person will literally, it's almost like, when you open a bag, you're trying to find something in a bag and you take everything out of the bag chaotically and it's all in the airport on the ground. Yeah. And it was that one little, like your headphones. That's what people in narcissistic relationships do. They open the bag that is themselves and pull everything out, trying to figure out what is wrong with me. Why did we go from, baby, where can I take you to dinner? I'll take you anywhere, to what? Like, please stop interrupting me. And you're thinking, what just happened? And so basically, once the narcissistic person almost feels kind of confident they've got your supply, whether it's a promise, maybe you live with them, maybe you've really committed into a long-term relationship, you said, I love yous or whatever, that they've got you where they want you, then there's sort of almost not narcissistic folks are also very novelty seeking. They kind of get bored easily. So you being around, from time to time they'll be into you, but then from other times they won't. They do like the idea that someone's a constant source of supply. And then over time there can be a real process of discard. They just really, it can feel like they just don't care at all anymore. Basically what they do is they no longer fulfill the roles and responsibilities of what it means to be in a close relationship, which is empathy, compassion, kindness, attunement, self-awareness. These are the responsibilities we have in a human relationship, and they do not fulfill them. I even hate putting them as responsibilities. I think that they come automatically for a healthy person. And then if you do decide to leave, or even if they decide to leave, you start to enter potentially a cat and mouse game of hoovering, where they'll pull you back, see how you're doing. Sometimes they'll even figure out, oh, they're happy now. Let me go see if I can spin that around a little bit.
Wow. Wow. I mean, those patterns sound so painful, and they sound so strenuous and stressful and, heartbreaking in so many ways. What are the excuses that people keep telling themselves, and what justifications stop us from healing?